Welcome back. It's Move of the Day. We're at round 5 of the Candidates tournament in Russia. And a really exciting round. Could have chosen other moves and other games. This one is simply the one that appealed most to my heart, my chess heart. And if we look at here, in this position, Fabi had this position against Giri. Fabi is black. Let's just respect how lost black is. Is he completely lost? It was a little bit hard for me to say at the game, but that's during the game when I was watching it always without the computer. But that was just my intuitive sense. And so let me just count off so many of the amateurish reasons I think this game is lost for black. The communication of the rooks is blocked. The king is much worse than white's king because black really only has one target point, and that's a2. That's not only well covered now, but white clearly intends something like rook h2, after which the counterplay will really be hard to do anything about. So that's two reasons. A third reason is that the bishop is often stronger than a knight, but definitely here. You know, the knight, black's knight is now controlling the maximum number of squares it will ever control, which is 8. Whereas if we count this out for white, we've got let's get this one off, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and arguably 11. 11 squares it has influence over. So that's number 3, why white is just doing so much better here. And then number 4, which isn't totally unimportant to understanding Fabi's next move, is even if black somehow managed to trade off everything, even if he did all that, he would be facing a much worse endgame with white having the 2 outside pass pawns. And black, of course, having a weakness on d5. So, a completely miserable situation for Fabi here. And it really, you know, as a Fabi fan, my heart was just like, oh man, because this would really have ruined his tournament if he had lost this. It wouldn't have been over or anything. It just would have made the path to winning this tournament so much more difficult. And that's why I'm calling this game, this move of the day, defense wins championships. Now, before I show what Fabi played here, let me just try to show how he got in this trouble, because it's also kind of interesting and helps us understand you know, how it can go downhill for Fabi in a position like this. As you remember, he lost against Ding. I think that was round 3, also in a Slav. And there, Ding played knight c3, and here Giri plays this e3 move, which in my mind I associate with Kramnik. This is a whole idea that Kramnik developed. And it's a little bit of a computer age position because it's all about winning this bishop. Now, the dynamic here is going to be pretty simple, where black is going to loosen white's position a little bit, but in compensation, really, white has not only the 2 bishops, but an unopposed light square bishop. And that's, to my mind, totally central in understanding the narrative of the position. Because when you think about it, what black can say is totally true, is that he's got a wall of white pawns that are blocking the light square bishop out. And white's aim is going to be to open the position, and in particular to open the light squares. So when we go to the move of the day position, right, what we can see is that white has totally achieved all of his dreams there. So this is very much a natural result of what white hopes to get out of the opening. Now, the position is so very interesting and dynamic. A lot of positions nowadays are this dynamic with the bishop versus knight. Think the Berlin, the Rosalimo. And for sure this one's interesting. Now, I just need to say about Fabi. He has not played the Slav a lot. This is clearly his new weapon for this tournament. So far, it's not looking good. Not looking good at all. And this is very characteristic of modern play, that you just want to switch it up and keep your opponent guessing as to what you are going to do and have a lot of dirty prep like Fabi intended for here, though it's not going well. And I talked in an earlier video about how Fabi is interested in always getting the murky positions, and I talked about the darkness of his soul. I had a lot of interesting responses to that. But also, let's just say, in contrast to Fischer as well, that Fabi is mixing it up in this modern style, whereas Fischer was always playing the same openings. And interestingly, in this tournament, you have in MVL a guy who is also just playing a straight repertoire. You know, always sticking to the Najdorf, which Fischer played, and the Grunfeld, which Fischer did not. In any case, let me show you the problem, I think, for me and most amateur players when you don't play a specific opening all the time, which is it feels like maybe you don't understand what's going on all the time. And even to my amateur eyes, it felt like Fabi really blew it here. In this position, let's just say the normalish move would be Queen C7. Okay, and in fact, Knight B6, what he played is a novelty, but it's actually kind of a cool move because you're going to try to close the position at least a little bit over here. And of course, White is going to try to open things with E4. Now, King B1, Queen B8. In the post game, Giri felt that this was a mistake. Maybe it is, but it was too deep for me. After H4, I think Black still has very interesting play with the straight B6. And arguably, the problem with Queen B8 is, well, don't you want to just play B6 immediately, right? Okay, now, the move I'm going to show you is, to my mind, how Fabi gets in trouble. It's not the move I'm going to show you, it's the move he played. He played G5, and I want to really stress it from what I'm calling the narrative of the position. This is all wrong, because you don't really want to open the position up. And this is where we get it. Now the position opens, and this is now very bad. Very bad for Black indeed, because like we're going to see in the position we're going to look at, the rooks aren't connected, the king is worse, and the bishop is stronger than the knight. Okay, so let's cruise through these moves, and we'll get to our move of the day. All of this, by the way, beautiful play by Giri, and Black is really, you know, hoping for something here. It looks terrible. Okay. So F5, great move. Well, White has done everything correct, right? Everything correct to get to this position. Now, move of the day, maybe the move that saves Fabi's tournament, I feel, is B5. This move is not the computer's first choice. But when I saw it, I said to myself, okay, maybe we have some practical chances here. By the way, somebody got upset. The famous Douglas Sly got upset on the YouTube about me using the word practical chess because all games, in fact, are practical. And I get his point. But what I mean by a practical decision here is maybe you're lost here, no matter what you do. But you need to fight. You need to kick for all the reasons we said. In particular, just all the trends are going against you. All of them in this position. So you need to kick right now. And that's what Fabi does. By the way, we're going to get a little bit of time pressure. Not immense. And in fact, Fabi had less time than Giri in this position. But it's the tension of these final 10 moves before time control, which is going to really, you know, define, let's say, White's chances. Now, Rook H2, as predicted. The computer, of course, wants to do all kinds of things. But to the human eye, Rook H2 is what wants to happen just so that we can secure this point before any drama ensues. Okay, Rook H5. What are we doing? We're tying the queen down to defending the bishop. But honestly, the rook isn't, you know, that incredibly happy on H5. Rook E2. White could have done other things, but that move is fine. And now a move I really like from Fabi, D4. So what Black is doing is saying to White, well, I'm not just going to sit, and I'm going to make you worry about the move, Knight D5. And really, I guess this next moment, is where Fabi blows it. Excuse me, MVL Giri blows it. And interestingly, this move that he played was the first choice of the super GMs, whereas the weak GM, myself, just intuitively said, well, what white should do is play bishop e4. I'm not afraid of trading the bishops because that knight is a good defender of the king. And that king really is a wreck. And so, to my mind, this is really a bad situation for black, and really bad. And anyways, let's show the move. It's not a terrible move, at least from the perspective of what other very strong players thought, that was also their first intuition. But it ends up being giving Fabi the chance. Knight g4, knight e3, and it looks terrible. It looks absolutely terrible. And one of the things I'm gonna admit here is that when I saw this position, even after I saw knight d5, I still thought white was much, much better. But the truth is, it turns out this position is holding. Black has enough tension to prevent white from getting in. And in the end of the day, what happened was they went back and forth, and that's how we got our draw. So, huge, huge draw to keep Fabi in the event. And as I've said before on the show, to me, draws are not some dumb thing. They are very much a part of being a chess fan and just understanding what's going on. Had Giri won this, man, the tournament would have been totally different. And now, as it is, Fabi's on an equal score, and every chance now to come and play for the win. And we're going to look as chess fans going forward how this Slav is really going to hold up. And by the way, he's played everything against d4, so there's all kinds of things he can pull out of his hat depending on who he's playing. And as a final note, I just want to say thank you to the players for playing this event. Perhaps it was a mistake for the organizers to let it go forward, but I want to say as a chess fan, this has been one of the most beautiful fan experiences of my life. So until move of the day from round 6 tomorrow, I'll leave it there and say bye-bye.